Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and we're all geared up and ready for the newspaper headlines, one of my best segments
with
on
your best
Breakfast Central. And joining us to do this is the CEO of Sustainable Stories Africa, Uade Ahimie. A warm welcome to you, Uade, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Benga likes to put what's it called, spice and
Ajasa.
Yeah, Ajasa. Thank
And
you.
I must say this.
Morning, Oli.
I've never told
Morning,
you this.
Joe.
Listen to this line.
I've never said this to you before, and it's with great humility that I would like to let you know that you're one of my favorite newspaper analysts.
I'm humbled.
In the world.
I'm humbled. I am truly humbled.
Yes.
Truly.
You forgot to add something.
You forgot to add
Today.
something for today.
Just for today. For
And I'm always, whether it's for now or it's forever.
Because he says
He's humble.
every analyst that comes in.
Benga.
Politician.
Babala politician.
It's great to have you. So many things happening across the world.
I'm wondering why he's on TV. He's on TV and not on special assistant.
Yeah. So many things are happening in the world. What newspaper do we start with? Let's start with the Punch newspaper. Producers, can we have the Punch newspaper up, please? IGP, State Police, IGP sets up panel to propose framework. Yes, there you have it. The IGP is setting up a panel to propose a framework.
Well, very interesting headline we have there. We can also see new police chief insists force next not threatened. Okay, that's a
No, I think I'll just start with that first.
Let's just take that.
The president seems to be very determined to implement this state policing. And the first assignment for the newly minted IGP, Mr. Tunji Disu, is to set up the modalities. He's also giving the instruction to the National Assembly and Senate President to come up with the excellent laws that will back the creation of state policing. What's your take on the idea of state policing? Would it resolve our insecurity crisis, or do we need to improve on the Nigerian police in its current structure? Where do you fall? Who exists you?
How do you form?
How do I forms or how do I falls? Either which way. Anyway, I do think I've always believed that, and this is my opinion, that state policing is good, but we need to get it right first time, so that we get it right always. And the reason is this, because at the end of the day, I do think and I do believe it would get policing to be more grassroots, because then it's not just saying you have a police station here and then how do you interact with the community, because they will all be part and parcel. Not that the Nigerian police force or members of the Nigerian police force today are not part and parcel of the community, but then you have people who are closer. So if my neighbor works in the police and so on and so forth, then it's easier to run to that person and say, I see what is happening in my neighborhood. How do you think we can provide better security? But the thing I don't want is, I was on another platform this morning and someone called in and said, oh, it's just a 7-man panel. I have no committee. I have no problem with the number of people in that committee. What I think and I believe should be done is they must have a guideline of the things they want to find out, not just from the state government or the legislature or the legislative arms of governance, but also from the people, so that we better understand what community policing should be like from the state perspective. That's one. Then the second part must be clear guidelines on the funding, because you can't provide security without funding.
Very important.
If we set up state police and we get to the situation whereby we're unable to pay them salaries, whether big or small, as at when due, then it doesn't change.
It's back to square one.
It doesn't change anything. It goes back to the fact that they are human beings, and I'm not telling them that they should go against the rules and regulations, but human beings being who they are, their first allegiance is to themselves. And that's the reality. And what makes that allegiance come to you is where you have, where you share those allegiances is where you have decent economic incentives backing them up. So it's the same way with anybody who works in any organization. At a point in time, you say, oh, the salary is no longer enough. You get? And even for founders, oh, we are not making enough money. And so these are the realities that we need to face. And I don't think it's something that you come out after 1 month and say, oh, we've gone around Nigeria.
Exactly, it shouldn't be rushed.
No, we shouldn't rush it. If it's going to take us a year, 2 years to get out this legislation properly, because there are different intricacies. I was also listening to another platform today where people are saying, oh, are you going to include in the new regulations that only indigenes of that state?
Yeah, they are valid concerns.
But my question will be, who is an indigene of the state? If I've lived in a state for the last 30 years, am I not an indigene? And I've been in security for the last 10, 15 years, don't I have a right
to be part of that?
Exactly. So these are things, and
it's not as simple as we make
it. No, they're delicate things. They're delicate things we need to manage properly and tread well. Why? Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, I do believe state policing is the right way to go, but I don't think it's something we need to rush.
All right, let's quickly take a little pause on the papers right now.
Labalu. So they said that the problem started when the judge came down heavily on his counsel. Jerry, this is Ukandu. It's a long explanation, but they're saying that they're seeking another order directing Abdul Malik to recuse herself from the suit on grounds of manifest bias and grave likelihood against the plaintiff. Ukandu is the National Welfare Secretary of the ADC, and he said that the judge came down heavily on his counsel during the proceedings of October 23rd, 2025, for not filing a response to the originating summons served on him barely 24 hours earlier by plaintiff's counsel, and that the court abridged the time for response from 30 days to 7 days. So that looked already like bias to them. The claimant said he was dissatisfied with the ruling and petitioned he petitioned the second defendant against the said ruling and demanded a transfer of his case to another judge on grounds of manifest bias and grave likelihood of bias on the part of the court against the claimant. We'll continue to follow this. I mean, there have been cases where certain justices have been asked to recuse themselves from a particular matter because of some form of overriding interest or the likelihood of bias. So it's not a new thing to see people ask for a judge to because the role of justice
do it voluntarily sometimes.
Voluntarily. The
like
role of justice
Binta Yanko.
Yes,
and,
in Nnamdi Kanu's case. The role of justice really is to be seen, not just to be done, but manifestly done by all. So if these people feel like this would impede on their ability to get justice, then that should be looked
absolutely
into.
Right.
Let's get back into the newspaper front pages. Still on the front page of the Punch, I won't die anytime soon. Obasanjo declares at 89.
Amen.
Amen. Federal government approves 1.2 trillion naira for Ibadan-Elisha Road and others.
It's Elisha.
Elisha, sorry.
Repeat after me, Elisha.
Elisha.
Okay.
Federal government approves 1.2 trillion naira for Ibadan-Elisha Road and others. Tinubu halts cashless airport toll over gridlock chaos. I'm sure you saw that.
Let's take
First
that.
of all,
Are they your
they
systems guy?
Announced cashless.
So
the thing caused serious traffic gridlock. Now they've come to unannounce it.
You know what? It beats me where I am all for technology. Nobody should ever get
technology.
However, you have, based on my experience of setting up, whether it's banking systems or systems in the energy sector, that's what you call, it's a process. You don't just go live.
Test run, troubleshooting, hybrid.
No, so you start with the implementation plan, and then it's okay. This is how we're going to implement it, and then you take the first part, and then you do the test run, and say, okay, maybe this particular number of cars, 500 cars from this area, so that every other person can go on, so that we can test, the speed and the things that you require. That's the second part. Then the third plan in part of all this project planning, or the first thing is, or the third part for me will be, which is something that you have to first communicate about the plan, is when these things are going to happen. I'm sure they will say, oh, they've said that, they've said this. for the first time, I heard it on March 1st, or no, March 2nd.
And you're someone that interacts with the media on a daily basis. You're exposed.
That's the first time I heard it. And the reason why I heard was because the queues, and I was wondering what was causing traffic that day. All through, backed right up to Ikorodu Road.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's that bad.
That's how bad it is. Backed up right from
Maryland,
Osho. Right from Oshodi into going to Bagada.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. Because once you disrupt traffic in one space,
Second,
Spread.
I mean,
it goes.
backs up.
I was scared of, I think it was on Monday, on Tuesday, I was scared of going to the island. And then from there, so I needed to go for an appointment in Lekki because they were fixing the front of Lekki. No, they're fixing Lekki. And I give them kudos for that. Because the week before when I went, I noticed that they were, and then the traffic was moving a bit, but you could see that there was a bit of gridlock because first of all, the way Nigerians drive is reckless.
Reckless.
However, when I went there, I was in VIA and then someone called me and said, oh, meet me in Lekki. And then I put on my Google map and he said, 15 minutes. I was like, are you sure? He says, oh, the traffic is just, I should go through Ikoyi. And I said, no, well, since he says I should go. And I got there. They had fixed that part within a week. On both sides, just by the Lekki gate, going out and going in. The traffic was already moving. And these are the things that you need to do. But you need to also inform people so that they can plan. That's a major route. This is the international airport, the biggest airport in Nigeria. It's in Lagos. It's not in Abuja. It's not in Kano. It's not in Port Harcourt. It's not in Enugu. It's in Lagos. Many airlines, are you with me? Take 2 flights out of Lagos.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. And the time that it starts to happen is first in the evening, when most airlines are dropping in and most airlines are going out. So how do you do this kind of things? And then you say, oh, then you put it on social media now that this card, see, the Minister of Interior has done a great job with the airport.
Minister of Aviation.
No.
Interior.
The Minister of Interior. The Minister of Aviation has collaborated with him to ensure that those things have been done. However, when you get to that point, even just having a toll gate where you pay cash, he can back traffic. Because change and no change. And that's why today, many of those places, and those are also part of the problem. It used to be 200 naira, then it moved to 300 naira. Now it's 500 naira. First and foremost, you don't even see the 100 naira and the 200 naira notes. So it just, and these things continue to increase the inflation. Why? Because where you're supposed to pay 100 naira, are you with me? Because there is no 100 naira, you move it to 200 naira. Now there is no 200 naira, you move it to 500 naira. The day 500 naira cash becomes scarce, it becomes 1,000. It's as simple as that.
Money changers. If you want to see them, go for Lekki wedding on Saturday.
That's irrelevant or immaterial bringer. But the fact remains that project management is about planning, milestones, and each milestone must be announced clearly.
Did you
giving people time?
Sorry, but did you hear what the ministers? I don't know if we have the footage there. Festus Keyamo, Honorable Festus Keyamo, said that the president had instructed him during the Federal Executive Committee meeting yesterday. I don't know if we have that footage. You can put that out.
That they should stop it.
Yeah, Nigerians are wondering, did you have to wait? So it also shows the burden a president carries on his head when already he has foot soldiers who ordinarily he will expect, or he would expect that they know what to do. But it had to come from. But let's take a listen. The
present cashless system we introduced at our toll gates across the country in order to eliminate corruption and optimize revenue for the federal government. You recall that this practice had gone on for more than 50 years, where we collect cash, where the operators of the toll gates, Federal Airport Authority, they collect cash from motorists at the points of collection across the country, mostly the toll gates, and other points like the parking lots and all of that. However, with the introduction of the cashless system less than a week ago, it's created a lot of gridlock across the country. Mr. President was very concerned about the welfare of Nigerians and the fact that most Nigerians were losing their flights, missing their flights. And so Mr. President, out of empathy, directed today that we should suspend the present system because it creates a lot of gridlock, and Nigerians are suffering as a result of it. Mr. President therefore directed me that we should go back to the drawing board. We should go back to status quo, suspend the present system whereby people will have to pay through the various means we have introduced at the various gates across the country, and then go and perfect the system properly. In fact, the President directed me that this should not...
You know, let me say something to this, and it's so amazing. You know, we talk about cashless, and in 2023, when we tried to make Nigeria cashless, this same group of people were the first to go to court. That's one. Two, let's remember that the airport, even toll gates at the airport, I think is completely wrong. Because many people going to the airport, are you with me, is one-off.
You don't go every day unless...
Where you need tolls at the airport are the parking spaces. There's no airport I've been.
You're
and
right.
that's why you have...
You're right.
No.
Fact.
That's why you have drop-off zones. And when you stay longer than expected at drop-off zones, you pay a huge fine. This issue about just wanting to collect money from Nigeria, empathy, nobody, this administration moved the cost of passport by 100%. What is duly rightful to every Nigerian to have? Where's the empathy? It's really, in the last 2 years, I've let my head down because so that I don't even want fresh air to blow on it. These are the kind of things I hear, and it's just annoying. Empathy? Every Nigerian citizen has a right to a Nigerian passport at the cheapest cost. But it's time to collect money. You deprive Nigerian citizens, those who are not even going to the airport, who go through that route, to go to their houses. They are stuck in traffic 3, 4, 5 hours. And then the next day, if he doesn't come to work on time because he's tired, you give him a query and reduce his salary. It is just unbecoming, in my own opinion. Very unbecoming.
And like
this
Joe
issue
said,
of just wanting to collect money,
did he have
collect
to take
money.
Mr. President's directive?
Yeah, it's just
Stop
ridiculous.
this. After day one, you've seen the chaos.
Do you have to wait for your MD to give you the instruction every day to come and do Breakfast Central?
At all.
Or do you wait for your MD to give you all the stories every day on Breakfast Central? Why do you have people that have been appointed or employed in organizations and fill different roles? Or do you even wait for your director of programs to tell you? It just gives you a guide of what the program should be. And then you go fill it in. When you are looking for your guest and all, is it the director or the MD that calls them for you? Sometimes. And then it's ridiculous that he says that. It's just amazing that, I don't know, you called him Honorable Festus Keyamo. I don't know how honorable that is.
We've said this thing many times.
I don't know how honorable all these things are. Mr. President, I can't sleep in my house at night, Mr. President. I can't go to the bathroom, Mr. President. I can't switch on the light, Mr. President. I can't drive my car, Mr. President. Petrol price has gone up, Mr. President. Just kill the Mr. President.
Just a quick one before we move to another paper. We're running out of time here.
3 minutes, bring up.
Lagos prosecutes 4,000 residents for illegal waste dumping. So the Minister of Environment, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, has been clamping down on. He feels it's a discipline problem. Meanwhile, we have a system-wide institutional problem in clearing dump. Of course, we can't dismiss the human factor to it, but I think we need more holistic solutions. But this is great. I mean, the other day I saw someone defecating in the middle of the, you know, and it's so, imagine tourists just driving around Lagos and you see someone defecating.
I'm sorry to interject
even the
you.
signboard,
I'm sorry to
not defecate.
Benga,
It's an eyesore.
I'm sorry to interject you, but let me just say this. Where in a state, you have public toilets that are padlocked so that one person will open it for you.
250, 200 naira.
How does that work?
You have to answer the call of nature.
Actually, in some other African countries, it still happens there.
No, we're not
where
saying
you
it
pay
doesn't
to use the bathroom.
Which bathroom?
Public bathroom now.
Which public space is that?
Yeah, public spaces. In Namibia, I remember, for example, that, in fact, I still have the picture. They tell you to pay some money to be able to use the toilet. Because they need to pay people.
So are we copying these things?
We need to take a very quick break. So we'll come back to wrap
we need
things up.
to earn our money this
Please
month.
earn your money.
Let's take a very quick break. We'll be right back.
And let's